a sitting U.S. Senator, Lindsey Graham. Today, we learned a special grand jury in Georgia recommended charges against him relating to attempts to overturn the election results in 2020 in that state. But the senator from South Carolina is adamant that he did nothing wrong.
I called around different states, including Georgia, as a sitting United States Senator, chairman of the Judiciary Committee. I eventually certified the election in all states, including Georgia. I didn't find any evidence of mass voter fraud, but I did have concerns about the mail-in ballot systems in Georgia and other places. We can't criminalize senators doing their job.
Lindsey Graham's name isn't the only one which appeared in the final report. For example, the former Georgia Republican senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, along with Donald Trump's first national security advisor, Michael Flynn, also there. The recommendations went to a different grand jury, which ultimately voted not to charge them when it brought indictments against Trump and 18 others. Mick, let's start with you here. You know basically all of the players involved. When you saw this today, what'd you think?
That it's going to help Trump because
Why?
It's going to make it look like we're criminalizing everything. There was a footnote in the grand jury report where one of the jurors who recommended against indictment said, look, this looks like pandering to me. It certainly doesn't look like criminal conspiracy. That's what half of the country is going to think. It's one of the challenges the prosecutors are going to face. I think Lindsey's right. I don't know what's wrong with the head of the Judiciary Committee going down saying, is everything okay here? I have to certify this election. So I think at the end of the day, this plays into Trump's argument that this is just a political witch hunt.
I mean, ultimately, they didn't charge, right? So the next question is, though, when I saw the list, I was like, what has happened to some of these people? Michael Flynn, for example, I mean, that guy's like on a QAnon tour and going with Donald Trump to various places. He's a 3-star Army general. What is going on? He's recruiting God's army.
That's a little weird. Yeah.
I mean, it's like people have been indoctrinated.
Is it criminal? I mean, that's the whole thing. We shouldn't joke about it. They're joking about it. No, if we're joking about it, but is it criminal? And I think a lot of people are going, hey, are you going to just make everything illegal?
One of the headlines here is Donald Trump, of course, but really Lindsey Graham. We're talking about one of the senior-most senators in the United States, and you got to wonder what potentially here could come for him next.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree with Mick. I don't know why most of the people on the initial grand jury voted yes. I didn't see what they see. But as he said, he certified the results.
Right.
This does not look good, especially when you do have some legitimate charges. I agree with Mick that this looks a little weird, and I'm sure Graham was kind of very confused by this.
I think my question, going off of what Johanna just said, what does this mean for Fani Willis? Because she's going to be getting a lot of questions about this. She decided ultimately not to go ahead and charge. So does she get a lot of the pushback here, or does that go elsewhere?
All right, let's bring in Michael Zeldin. He's a former federal prosecutor over at the Department of Justice. Michael, thank you for being here on the Hill. If you're Senator Lindsey Graham, what's his exposure, if any, going forward here?
I don't think he has any criminal exposure. He'll be exposed to the voters of South Carolina, and they'll decide whether or not they think he should continue on as senator when he's up for re-election or not. It's a straight political question for the voters. This is not a criminal law matter any longer. Fani Willis has passed, and that's that.
Can you explain to us, there was the group here, Lindsey Graham, David Perdue, Kelly Loeffler, those last two were former senators. Obviously, nothing happened to them, but to Donald Trump and the 18 others, obviously they have criminal exposure here potentially. How was that? Can you explain to us sort of the difference there and how that line was drawn?
Sure. Well, it falls within prosecutorial discretion, and prosecutors look at the evidence that it has adduced in the grand jury and make determinations. In the case of Graham, 13 people said there was probable cause to believe that he committed a crime. 7 said otherwise. And Loeffler and Kemp, the other, Perdue, similar splits in numbers. And so the prosecutor looks at it and says, you know what? I don't think the grand jury made an overwhelming recommendation. I'm going to exercise my discretion and choose not to indict. So that's very basic bread and butter stuff. And I think in some sense, good for Fani Willis. She could have indicted everybody. It was within her power. She exercised discretion in a sound and reasonable way, which undermines the notion that this is a weaponized Justice Department going after people in a political witch hunt.
Michael Zeldin, former DOJ official. Michael, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.